This video was created by VinylicPuma of VinylicPumaGaming.
Hey guys, back with another Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel video for you guys, and today we're going to be going over Dahl weapons. Dahl weapons are characterized by both their burst fire ability as well as low recoil. This means that you can deliver a lot of accurate fire into one specific area to deal a lot of damage. Today we'll be looking at some of the best guns and weapons that Dahl has to offer in both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, so without further ado, these will be the top 9 best Dahl guns and weapons in Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Number 9, the Lascaux. The Lascaux is a really good early game weapon and is also a fairly decent later game weapon as well. It's also worth mentioning that the Lascaux is very easy to acquire, as you literally go into the cave section of Frostburn Canyon and pick it up from one of the pools of water. Given the name of the Lascaux, this is fitting because the Lascaux's weapon skin resembles ancient cave paintings in France. While the Lascaux doesn't come in any elements, it is a multiple projectile SMG, much like the Double Anarchy was from Borderlands 1. Thanks to the inherently low recoil of Dahl weapons in general, the Lascaux is a great weapon to spray in an enemy's general direction to cover them with bullets until they die. Definitely pick one of these up if you're interested in the Lascaux. Number 8, the Seraphim. Since a lot of my viewers have been asking me what this gun was in the comments section of my videos, I figured I would include this weapon in today's countdown. The Seraphim is essentially the sister Seraph weapon to the Varrook from Borderlands 2 that was added with the Captain Scarlet and her Pirate's Booty DLC. Unlike the Varrook, the Seraphim doesn't have a projectile multiplier and has very high base damage for an assault rifle. According to the Borderlands wiki, it's about on par with E-Tech assault rifles, however, with better ammo consumption and significantly better critical hit damage. That said, the biggest downsides to the Seraphim are the accuracy, which can get pretty wonky at long distances, and the slow projectile speed, which can also make faraway enemies extremely difficult to hit. Now, the Seraphim does only come in fire element, which does limit its viability up against armored enemies in Borderlands 2. Number 7, the Dahl Laser Railgun. So this is the only non-unique weapon on this countdown. It's also going to be the only laser from the pre-sequel in this countdown, mostly because of how most other Dahl lasers in general they kind of suck. What I like about the laser railgun is that it uses the Hyperion laser barrel, which is the strongest of the 4 in terms of damage per shot. And thanks to the inherent fire rate increase that Dahl weapons get while burst firing, you can get a lot of powerful, accurate shots hitting one particular crit spot in quick succession. If you do decide to do a playthrough of Borderlands the pre-sequel at any point, I recommend that you pick one of these up if you see them. They're great weapons and are definitely recommended by me. Number 6, the Varrook/Major Tom. So it's worth mentioning that the Varrook and Major Tom are essentially the same gun. The differences are that the Varrook is exclusive to Borderlands 2 and comes with a really exotic purple-looking weapon skin, while the Major Tom is exclusive to Borderlands the pre-sequel and has this exotic red sparkly weapon skin. Now, in terms of function, while hip firing, both guns fire 3 projectiles per shot, and while burst firing, the projectile count expands to 5, and the projectile spread converges as the burst goes through its cycle. The biggest disadvantage of the Varrook and the Major Tom is that the projectile spread is primarily horizontal, and because of that, you're most likely going to get the best use of the Varrook against more horizontal or wider enemies like loaders, or just enemies with big, massive crit spots. Overall, though, both are great weapons in the right situation. Number 5, the Pitchfork. So the Pitchfork is very similar to the Varrook and Major Tom from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel respectively. This is because the hip fire from the sniper rifle is 3 horizontal projectiles per shot, while the burst fire is 5 horizontal projectiles per shot. However, unlike the Varrook and Major Tom, the projectiles don't converge towards the end of the burst, making it difficult to land each projectile on target. While there are many other sniper rifles that are better than the Pitchfork in Borderlands 2, the Pitchfork is really a great weapon in Borderlands the pre-sequel, especially since there are a significant amount of larger enemies like Iwo Jira and the Empyrean Sentinel that you can easily get each projectile to hit on. Like many other Dahl legendaries, the Pitchfork comes in all elements and is my favorite sniper rifle that Dahl produces. Number 4, the Hornet. The Hornet is a corrosive-only pistol that can be acquired in Borderlands 2, and out of all of the unique corrosive pistols in the game, I would say that the Hornet is probably the best. Not only does the Hornet have a ridiculously high burst fire count, but also benefits from grenade damage bonuses on Axton the Commando, making it one of his ideal weapons up against armored enemies. Now, like all other Dahl weapons, the Hornet has very low recoil, making it possible to get a lot of very accurate shots in on an enemy's crit spot. This weapon is great up against loaders as well as armored bandits, and thanks to the splash damage, you don't have to be super precise with your shots to be effective. Now, the Hornet might just be the first legendary weapon that you can acquire in Borderlands 2 as it drops from Knuckle Dragger, which is the game's very first boss. It also might be the earliest corrosive weapon that you can acquire legitimately. Number 3, the Phrygia. This is Borderlands the pre-sequel's best weapon for freezing enemies very quickly. This is mostly because the Phrygia is like the Lascaux and has 2 projectiles per shot. Now, unlike the Lascaux, the Phrygia is cryo element only and has very high freeze chance. Depending on how you look at it, the Phrygia is to Borderlands the pre-sequel as the Slagga is to Borderlands 2. Both weapons are designed to apply stat debuffs to enemies to significantly increase your damage. Like many of the other good unique Dahl SMGs, the Phrygia is a quest reward. Considering that the Phrygia is much like the Slagga was from Borderlands 2, except it's a cryo weapon and that you can easily obtain it, this should be a weapon that everyone uses and goes after for in their builds. Number 2, the Torrent. The Torrent is Borderlands the pre-sequel's best Dahl SMG, though it's actually very similar to the Emperor SMG from Borderlands 2, which was sort of a mediocre legendary when compared to many of the other unique rarity Dahl SMGs. Overall though, I would say that the Torrent is more practical than the Emperor was, and also looks a lot cooler thanks to its purplish, greenish, bluish camo aesthetic. The Torrent is fairly standard for a Dahl weapon. It has a very high burst count and low recoil, meaning you can put a lot of bullets into one specific spot. The Torrent comes in all elements as well as non-element, making it a very versatile weapon as well. I would definitely take the time to farm for one of these from Meg in the Hyperion Hub of Heroism, or you can use the grinder to grind one of these if you get the chance. Number 1, the Sandhawk. Not a huge surprise here. After all, the Sandhawk is probably the best SMG from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, both without the B shield and especially with the B shield. In general, the Sandhawk is pretty cool as the projectiles outline a flying bird when fired, which is a nice aesthetic touch. The Sandhawk also comes in all elements as well as non-element, and is possibly one of, if not the most powerful guns or weapons that you can acquire via a quest reward from both games. It's worth mentioning that you get the Sandhawk upon completing the Whoops mission, which is a campaign quest for Captain Scarlet and her Pirate's Booty DLC. So really, as long as you complete the DLC questline, you will get a Sandhawk. Among many other weapons that are excellent from the Captain Scarlet and her Pirate's Booty DLC, I would say that the Sandhawk is definitely worth playing through that DLC to get. I recommend that you go pick one up because you won't regret it. Anyway guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care and I'll see y'all next time.